So, what's going on, guys? My name is Terminus, and we are on episode 4 of Frieren. I'm a little bit, maybe you hear it, I'm a little bit cranky because my throat hurts a little bit. Might have caught a cold or something, but we're gonna do this anyway, fuck it. I don't have a lot to talk about. I'm doing this more impromptu this time because I just more or less just woke up an hour ago and just thought I'd fucking go in. We're just gonna talk a little bit about last episode. We did have that nice little storyline last episode where Frieren was trying to do something for Frieren. Trying to connect more to her and give her something on her birthday, and we do have that little talk between them about Frieren trying to understand people around her better, because she does have regrets due to Himmel and all that. And we do have Frieren being thankful for that, and also expressing it because she knows that Frieren doesn't maybe immediately get that she is thankful for that. And the second part of the episode obviously kind of focused on this big demon Qual that they did seal away, because back then he was a very powerful demon who developed his own spells, and we got a little bit of world building there on the magic system, which was kind of cool. And we got to know that this is a thing that gets developed kind of like science, right? And in a mere 80 years, humans, due to the threat this new spell posed, managed to actually disable it more or less and develop a new defensive magic theory. One that is very reliant on heavy mana usage, so it does have a weakness. It's not like the be-all end-all solution, but they found a solution and an adaptive strategy, and they made it the standard, which in turn, obviously, as we can see, made Qual's magic rather trivial at this point. And with that, we did end the episode when Frieren put Qual's spell right back against him after having learned it within these 80 years, probably very quickly having learned it after they had their confrontation with Qual. And we do get a little bit of a reminiscent scene about her and Himmel again, where we get to know that Himmel visited this town each year to make sure that the seal was still intact, but also had the deep belief that once the seal would be broken, that Frieren would be there and she would have the answer, the solution to the problem, would put him down. Very nice episode, very, very self-contained. I do wonder if this is how the episodes are gonna go from start to finish, if I don't know if it's a first core, if we have like 12 episodes, or if there's a 2-core thing going on. I'll still have to find that out, but I do wonder if this season is going to focus on a lot of little self-contained stories, and the overall arching theme will be Frieren's journey through her past and her relationship with Frieren, of course. Without further ado, I think we should just go into it. I don't see any reason to stall further. I'm just gonna check if the audio is recording and all that, and then we're just gonna jump in, I'd say. Good thing I checked. I actually do have to open up Audacity just to get that backup audio in case something messes up, but I do think we should be fine. So let's get this started. Well, first of all, for my buddy Pink Cube, we should all hydrate very well. So everyone get a sip. I'm sorry I'm copying you, dude. It's just such an iconic thing. I thought I'd just do it. Let me see if the camera is... Yeah, the camera's going well. Also get a sip of my coffee because I need my caffeine. It's a very nice cup that I got from my brother on Christmas, which I like a lot. It's a big cup. It's amazing to put like just 2 cups of coffee, 2 normal cups of coffee in there. All right. I needed that. All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. I really like this song, by the way. I mean, I don't know if it fits perfectly to the series, but it's really nice. Opening the eyes. It has kind of like an oriental theme here going on, which I find very interesting, but it fits the whole theme of going on a journey, right? An odyssey or some kind of deal. So I wonder when we're gonna meet Red Hair. Yoasobi is up and coming. Like they did a lot of high profile OPs and other songs lately, so I wonder how often they will be used in the future anime seasons. All right, get into it. Get into it. Oh, actually, put up the wrong episode. I'm a fucking genius. Let me kind of just all right. I guess we get an encore. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. Maybe I'll just cut it, but maybe I'll just leave it the fuck in and tell you to skip ahead if you want to. We're just gonna get an encore now. I like how I said that before, but I like how they start with a very stylistic sketch kind of thing. It gives me kind of the vibes of it this being the beginning of her as a person, of her character, personality. Like if you sketch somebody, you have the concept of somebody, right? And this is where she starts, and then she slowly, and her party as well, they start to get color. They start to be more defined throughout the intro. It could be a possible theme visually. I wonder why the moon is in that shot of the person pointing up at the star. I haven't figured out the symbolism of that yet. Also, who the fuck is Avik? We need to know. I need to know. I do always like the full versions of Oh, we skipped another year, great. I do always like the full versions of OPs, but I think like the 132-minute mark is kind of the sweet spot in terms of OPs. No, excuse me. Like I said, I'm a little bit sick, so I hope you'll forgive me for that. Wait, what was that? We'll have to go back to that. I didn't quite see that. It's interesting. It's always the old people kind of taking care of the area around them, which kind of makes sense because they've probably lived in that area for a long time and they remember the history of it more than the youngsters who are going out into the world who want to see stuff. And maybe one day they'll turn back to their home village or maybe settle somewhere else. And then they remember the things that happened there during their prime, right? During the main days of their life. And then they'll be the ones keeping up the area. Because they have like a deep connection to it. Right? They know why it's important to keep it up. They do appreciate the community, the and also the history of the area around it. So they've been here a while. I think it's very interesting that they most of the time they journey from place to place, but they stick there for multiple months or maybe even a year, which kind of gives them a feel of the area, right? All right, Frieren, that is a statement. Me in the morning, legit. I feel like 3 years older in the morning. Especially in winter, I just want to crawl back into bed. Yeah, friend is the adult here. It's like, just let me sleep. I want to go back to bed. I'm also still a little bit sleepy. Yes. She's like me. She's like me for real. I guess she just was good enough for them to tolerate that. And kind of a nice person, of course, right? But we all have our flaws. Not with her sleep schedule, she isn't. Yeah, and obviously, with all the shipwrecks here, this wouldn't be as beautiful of a sight. Though, I do find something like this to be quite beautiful on its own, right? Depending on how it looks, it can make for an amazing shot to see just a shipwreck looking out of the water. Alright, working together, getting things done. Kind of a waste to burn them, though. Don't you want to just use it for firewood or something? I mean, I know Like the wood must be terribly soaked, but if it's gonna be dried out, you might be able to do something with it. Yeah, I don't understand. But maybe it has to do with her trying to understand the perspective of others. She's technically not interested, but why are others so interested in it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I know what she's thinking. This very scene that has been very impactful in my opinion because it almost felt like Himmel was seeing through her, right? Like, and I think he made that impression regularly on her. And that's the point, right? Yeah. If she'd been there with Himmel and all them, she would have enjoyed it because they enjoyed it. Experiencing joy through the joy of others, that's a very, very important thing as well. That is an interesting way of looking at things. And that is the idea behind it, I think, right? It gives people the strength to go on to try their best in life, or at least it used to. I mean, these days there's other concepts that can drive you. I mean, even back then, but especially these days. And so they meet again. A reunion. He looks a little bit older now. Full basin, which means full basin. They're teasing her for her age. That is absolutely funny. Something that should pique her interest, even if most of it might be fake. Her. Alright, so Flam was female. She's all about efficiency. He's right though. I mean, it's like this every time, but in all honesty, I do believe that there are certain phases in our lives where we change more than in others, and this is definitely a big phase of change for Frieren. Yeah, Fern is all about diligence. And she has to deal with somebody as chaotic as Frieren. Alright, talk to the dead. Is that the goal? That is a big tree. Frieren's master. Alright, interesting. Oh, okay. The woman we saw in the OP, maybe? So Flum was her master. Did she remember the place, or was that a place she wasn't sure existed? She could tell, probably. And she was a human, apparently. Alright. We do have a possible goal. Putting the words of fighter back at her. Said it's a North continent. Ende, which means end. Finish. Oh, okay. The Demon King's castle. He's giving her an excuse to do what she might really want to do, or to do something that might be good for her. No, she's not. She's just acting now. I mean, she might be, but at the same time, there's the other part of her motivation pulling her there. So. Alright, this is why she might not want to go there, but obviously it's the north. It also seems to be a place where they went, so she's still retreading her journey with her party, so it makes sense for her to be there, to go there. Just got a little... I don't think that's necessarily true, but... She does care, she just doesn't know how to show it. It's hard to understand people who are a little bit disconnected from the rest of us. They're all worried about her. Wait. That is an interesting hint, right? 10 years not being 100th of her time. That puts a whole new perspective on it. So she might get older than 1,000 years. Amazing. She has a good heart, but it's buried down there, right? Beneath that aloofness and yeah. A hard journey, a long journey. And she wants to go on another adventure, a 10-year adventure. With her new apprentice. Which is a very nice idea. Retreading her old steps, but at the same time going on a new journey. Very much represents what she's going through emotionally. She's developing all these new ideas, seeing these new perspectives, or seeing her own emotions from a new perspective, and all the things she went through. It's a new journey, but it's also retreading her old journey. So thematically, it fits very well with each other. I do have to pick out the lyrics for the ending as well, because I'm sure that there's a lot you can read into. And she's crossing paths with Himmel. Alright. That was the episode. Really, there's very little, in my opinion, to talk about. We can speculate a little bit on what's going to happen, right? But really, it is a lot of, like I said in the previous episode, it's a lot of emotional processing. It's a lot of going deep into who this person was, Frieren, and maybe also relating a lot with people who have a hard time emphasizing with other people. What we find out this episode on like substantial grounds is that Flam, which I mean it's pretty easy to translate that even in English. Flamme means fire in English. You could also say flame in that case. Was a legendary mage who discovered a lot of things, who has been passed down in legend as a hero of ancient times, and she apparently used to be Frieren's master, which is very interesting. From the flashback, we do know she's human apparently, or at least not elven. Um, she does seem to have the same eye color as Frieren, so I wonder if Frieren is actually not a full-blooded elf, but rather like half elf or something along those lines. We do know that various fantasy worlds do consider half elves to have similar or the same lifespan as elves themselves, and there does seem to be little to no distinguishing feature between the two of them. So it's possible that Frieren's mother actually was a human and her father was an elf. It's also completely possible that this is just an accident, well, like a coincidental thing, and her eye color doesn't mean anything. But I do think we have these two matching points. First of all, the ornaments the master wears that Frieren has taken over, but that could just be a master and apprentice thing. And the second one being the master in that flashback seeming very motherly in relation to, like, in her interaction with Frieren, but at the same time that also could be her just being a master, a good master, right? If you take in an apprentice, it's kind of like having a kid, more or less, right? Taking care of them in a way, somebody less experienced, especially in pastimes that wasn't all that far away, that you would try to take up a profession and you would become the apprentice of a master and then live with them and be taught by them and go on journeys with them, as them being more or less your guardian and your well, not replacement, but like your substitute parent on this journey, because you are in your teenage years and you're being the apprentice and you're being taken care of by the master. This could be the case, but obviously there could also be a familial connection, since we do have the eyes, which might be an indicator for a genetic connection. She does find the notes of Flum, and she talks about that she, on the northern continent, found a land where the souls of the dead reside, and she was able to talk with old companions of herself. It's also very interesting that in that flashback, Frieren remembers specifically that her master did say, well, you're gonna regret that attitude of yours that you have right now, this nonchalant, I don't care about anything kind of. That cold, non-empathizing attitude you have now. And she was right in the end, right? And Frieren herself, when she finds the note, she asks herself, did she know I would be here 1,000 years later? Well, not 1,000 years, but did she know I would be here all these years later? I do actually. Let me look that up for a second to see if we have here, and she opens it up, and then she says to herself, "They're real," and she's like, "Okay." But did she know 1,000 years ago that I'd come here? So it was actually 1,000 years, and we do find out later with that little offhand comment of Frieren that a 10-year journey isn't even a 100th of her lifespan. That she will be older than 1,000 years when she dies. That her lifespan might be 2,000 years or longer, for all we know. So that is very interesting. So the place that you mentioned, Frieren's master, is Aureole, with an A in the beginning. I wrote that down. So it's kind of like the afterlife. And not coincidentally, but interestingly enough, it seems to be at the very same place, or at a similar place, as the Demon King's castle that they raided years ago, like 30 years ago, when they defeated the Demon King, which is at the very northern tip of the continent, a very cold place apparently. So Frieren isn't too excited on journeying there, but at the same time, it is something that connects her to the party and to Himmel again. It is, once again, she doesn't leave the journey of retracing her steps of her old party. She keeps going along this journey, but she does have a new reason to go along, a second reason, and that is retracing the steps of her master and maybe having the goal of meeting the deceased soul of Himmel and being able to talk to him and get closure on that part of her life, right? That mere 10 years journey that she went through. So that will be that obviously adds a lot of motivation to her already. Well, she already was motivated to go through this and retrace the steps, but this is just going double on her motivation to really see it through. And Eisen puts one on top of that, saying, "Hey, you told me you do me a solid. You told me if there's anything I want you to do that I need help with, and I want you to find that. I want you to do that. I want that for myself because I care about you, because I'm worried about you, and I want you to have your closure. So do this for me, because I want you to do this for you," which is a very nice way to, in my opinion, to help a friend, give your friend an additional push to do the thing that might be very good for them, that might be the thing they need. Aside from that, we do know that to get through the Demon King's castle, we do have to go to the northern continent of Ende, which means End. Again, the very simple, very basic naming scheme that is not necessarily bad. And considering that we are we do have a story in Japanese here, which is using German words. It is, for me, of course, as a German, it seems very simple, but for people who are experiencing this in English or Japanese, it certainly is a foreign-sounding word, which might sound nice in some instances. Some of these words sound nice and interesting, and that's, I guess, a nice naming scheme that, on the one hand, doesn't require you to be too abstract with generating all kinds of names for things, but at the same time has that foreign ring to it that piques our curiosity. And yeah, we do have to go through the will region, apparently, as in W-I-L-L-E. Wille means will. It's very easy. Not will as in leaving will after you pass, but more as in willpower, as in determination and all that. Wanting something. Not wanting as in greed, but which is, again, thematically the German words. I'm sure this will connect to our journey that we go through, like one of the stories that we experience. I'm sure the story that happens within the will region is going to be somehow connected to that concept. And then we have the Royal Canyon, which sounds rather curious in my opinion, because royal in this case might mean royal in relation to the Demon King, right? Not royal in relation to any human kingdoms, but rather the Demon King's Royal Canyon, the canyon around the Royal Demon King Castle, or the Royal Demon King lands, or whatever. So from what we've seen, a very cold place, a very stormy place, obviously. And we do have to make this long journey that took the hero's party originally 10 years. I do assume that the 10 years is more going back to when they started out their journey, and that it includes the parts of the journey that Frieren already retraced. But at the same time, so far we have spent, I think when they left Hyter, it was 26 years after Himmel died. So now we are around 30 years after Himmel died. So we already went through 4 years of that journey. It could be that since Frieren stayed at certain places for a longer time, that time is a little bit, like that time frame is a little bit different than what they had originally went through. So I would assume that we do have anything between probably 8 to 6 years left for the journey that Fren and Frieren are going to take on. And we do have, indirectly, our answer to the question that we asked last episode, where Frieren kind of evaded the question of how long is our journey gonna take, how long am I gonna keep journeying with you, Fren? And Fren was like, Frieren was like, it's gonna end soon. And Frieren's like, when is soon? And she said soon. And soon for her apparently might mean a couple of years, right? Until she's finished that journey. Then again, it could also be that with this new episode, with the new realization and the new goal, additional goal she has now, that she just decided to extend this journey. That she decided, yeah, I'm just gonna we're gonna travel for another 6 years together until we reach that point, and then maybe I'll get my closure, and then we go our separate ways. But I think Frieren at this point is very attached to Fren. Much like with Himmel and the rest of the party, when Fren is happy and excited and enjoying her time, that provides a passive enjoyment for Frieren to experience. And we do have that scene within the episode a little bit earlier where she experiences that sunset, and she's like, yeah, it's a nice sunset, but well, it's not worth standing up for it. And she looks over at Fren and sees how entranced Fren is with the sunset and how much she's enjoying it, and you see her face lighting up like a Christmas tree. And it's very endearing because you see that she does care about other people, and that she experiences joy not necessarily just based on the thing itself, but she experiences the joy of others as her own joy. And making that experience is, I think, what Himmel meant when he originally was like, yeah, well, we wanted you to enjoy the sunrise as well. And she was like, well, I would probably not enjoy it as much. It's just a sunrise. And he's like, no, I know you a little bit, and I know you would enjoy it. And this is what Himmel meant. This is a very powerful thing, because we are humans are social creatures, right? We do experience joy not only through ourselves but also through our interaction with others. This is why Christmas and Easter and birthdays are so big, because, and why people care so much to give people who they really like, who they're really connected to, presents, because there's also this element of, I'm gonna give you something that hopefully makes you happy, and that joy, that surprise when you open it up, and when you're like, holy shit, I didn't expect this is amazing. Or even if you're not surprised and you knew roughly what it's gonna be, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, well, this is exactly what I wanted. And this is giving you some kind of warm, fuzzy feelings, getting that. I don't know if it's actually the case, because I know that interaction with other humans is giving us endorphins. One of that is one part of why social media is such a big pitfall, but also such a source of addiction, because you are constantly interacting with other people and getting feedback. It's giving you those little dopamine spikes. Dopamine definitely, but I wonder if we do know in psychology that through human contact there is oxytocin being released, which is a hormone that is responsible for the feelings and for the feelings that do make up our emotional connection to people, right? And our attachment to people. I wonder if this is not just through skin to skin, well, not skin to skin, but through human contact, but also through events that you experience with people. I would have to look into that, because psychology is a big field. There's been studies on all kinds of phenomena, so obviously I wouldn't know everything from the start, but I could very well imagine that either oxytocin or similar hormones are being released when we do experience the joy of others through ourselves, right? The joy of other people that we care about very much. Yeah, I think this is about most of what I wanted to talk about. We do have that journey. We do have that that little resume of the decision of Frieren to actually go through with it and say, all right, we're gonna do this. We do have that little nice little moment here with the meteor shower where Frieren is like, well, it's a waste of time to take on an apprentice when the party is actually trying to convince her to take somebody with her on her journey. They're kind of being worried about her because they know she do deep down that she does care about other people, that she does connect to other people, but also that she very often detaches herself from people to her own demerit, I would say. I think that's the right word. I'm not sure. And that it's not necessarily good for her to be alone. And then she might regret it down the line, but that's the thing you have to. You have to make these mistakes yourself, I think, to really realize they've been mistakes and do it differently in the future. Some things you only realize, you don't realize when people say it to you. You only realize it when you experience them yourself and make that realization yourself. And this is exactly where Frieren is right now. Making that journey, retracing her steps, trying to understand herself better and trying to understand herself better through understanding the people that she journeyed with, that she chose to journey with, right? Understanding that journey she went on and why she went on it, what made her do that, and she's already reflecting on that. We see that in episode 3 when she tells Frieren, yeah, well, you chose magic for a reason. That is already a conclusion that she's only, in my opinion, only come to because she's experienced through her own remembrance and retracing her steps, that there's an actual reason why we make the decisions we do, right? And it's not always easy even to identify our own emotions, our own motivations when it comes to why we do the things we do. And that is what she's trying to do. Introspective through extrospective, kind of. Introspective through understanding other people that you've been with, that you've been close with, and understanding the decisions you made, the journey you went on. We do have a last scene here that I would like to mention for a second, and that is the praying scene. I said it in the reaction already, but I think it's very interesting to hear Heiter's perspective on that, which is not the classical perspective of your everyday cleric or priest or whatever, or religious person. He says, even if he says, well, maybe there is nothing, right? Maybe there is no heaven, maybe it doesn't exist. But even if there is, I want to believe, if there isn't, I want to believe that there is, because I want to believe that all these people who worked hard their entire life, who were good their entire life to each other, that they have a reward looking forward to when they pass away. It would be too sad if everything just went into nothingness. And I can emotionally relate to that. I am not very religious. I'm agnostic. I do say that it is definitely possible, in the realm of possibility, but looking at all we humans know, and all we don't know, which is a fuck ton. Like, we do not know probably 80% of the universe and its rules and its makeup. Even with all our advancements in physics and biology and chemistry, there's so much that we do not know. So it is within the realm of possibility, and I cannot be disproven that there is heaven, that there is a God, that there is all these religious concepts that we think about, from Christianity to Buddhism, where it's more about the inner connections between one another. You could even look at pseudo fictitious mythology, like Star Wars, for example, where you have the Force, this all-connecting framework that connects every living being and every part of matter in the universe. And all of these things are definitely possible, but I do, for my own life, I do not believe that it makes a difference for me. I would like to be in tune with nature, in tune with the people around me, and understand all of that, and understand them as much as I can. But I do think if everything is connected in a way, and it is inherently neutral, right? It does not make a difference for me if there's some higher being or not, because I will make my own moral decisions the way I learned them, the way I do think is doing right by people and doing right by nature, doing right by the universe in general, keeping a balance. And I live my life this way. But I do understand that there's a big psychological, mental component to religion and to one's own faith. I do actually. We should separate religion, which is an organization, from actual faith, like believing in something higher than yourself. There's a real sense in that to believe that all the things I do will lead me to a path that is pleasant and nice, and I might be rewarded down the line, right? I mean, the concept of karma is similar, right? If I do something bad, it's gonna come back or reflect back at me at some point. If I'm nice, if I'm trying to do right by people, if I'm trying to apply my moral standards to the world and act by them, then maybe something good is gonna come back to me, and that is a very reassuring concept for millions of people, I'm sure. And it can give you a lot of mental strength, especially in rough times. And as such, I do 100% understand Heider's point. I also understand Himmel's point, who says it doesn't matter in the end. They're kind of on the same wavelength here. They're just looking at it from slightly different angles. Eisen himself is a traditionalist. He's like, there's nothing's gonna happen, whatever. But that in itself, that like him binding himself to that tradition is also gonna help him in some ways, right? Build up his mental construct to get through rough times. It's incredible how humans can get their mental strength, their perseverance from all kinds of sources. And I do believe that everybody's belief, everybody's own perception of the world, if it's not harming anybody else, it should be accepted in a way. It should be at least try to be understood and and respected in a way. Frieren has more of a scientific observational perspective here. She says, well, dwarves go by tradition, and like until 1,000 years ago, people believed that there's nothing after death, and while Himmel and Heiter are more like, Heiter is coming from the religious but all accepting perspective, and Himmel is coming from the relative perspective, where he's like, well, it doesn't matter in the end, as long as people get something from it. So he's more along the lines of myself, like my own belief, and and Eisen is culturally very deriving his own beliefs from his culture, and that is all right as well, right? We do have a very interesting plethora of perspective here, and that one single scene just gives you so much content to actually discuss and to go into when it comes to religion and faith, and how we understand these things through our own perspective, and how we apply them to the world and our own behavior. But yeah, that's about it for the episode. We have finished another part of our journey. We have met Eisen again, which I'm very happy about, that the remaining people that are still alive from Frieren's party are being met throughout the episodes, and they interact with her, and you see that she's somewhat changed and trying to understand them better and trying to do right by them and live by their example and help them out as best as she can. even though she does obviously regret a lot and feel like it might be too late for some things. But Eisen here has the hope that she can go to the end of her journey and maybe meet Himmel again, in some shape or form, and talk it out and get her closure. Yeah, going into episode 5, there's not a lot of questions. Just, who's Erik? Like, his name got dropped in episode 2, and then I want to know. Like, he's connected to immortality, and he might be connected to this land Aureola, with the de facto afterlife that they are talking about here. Maybe she'll meet him on the journey, or she meet him all the way at the end as well. So that is a very interesting thought. He does seem to be somewhat of a prominent figure, at least for the party itself, if not for the world. So we'll have to see. Yeah, this is a very interesting journey, because this is an anime that I would not expect to be really good for reactions. I'm also kind of curious how you guys see this reaction to Frieren, and other reactions to Frieren in general, because the show itself is a lot about setting a tone and an atmosphere. It doesn't have these over-the-top hype moments. It doesn't have these... It does just have this very slow and atmospheric and conceptually very interesting moments. It brings up ideas and tells you, well, this is the thing our character is talking about. This is the thing our character is thinking about. And then it wants you to run with it, right? It wants you to keep thinking about it. That's the impression I get. It's more of a, hey, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about this? And we experience that through our character Frieren. We experience that to a minor degree through our younger character Frieren, and how they bounce off of each other, dealing with these questions, dealing with these memories, dealing with their own personalities, which are a little bit at odds with each other sometimes. I mean, they're both very agreeable, which manages to bring them together. And at the same time, we have like the chaos of Frieren and the diligence of Frieren. But it's very interesting, because it creates very interesting situations between the two, where one of them is realizing something and she's like, nah, I don't like that, and then they talk to each other, or they talk to other characters about it, and through that we do discover new concepts for ourselves. We do realize new parts of the characters. We do experience more characterization of them, or maybe even character development through those discussions. Yeah, as always, excited how this is gonna go on. I'm not gonna yap on and just waste your time, so see you next time. Until then, have a good one.